Hello, my friends. I invite you to join me in the journey to seek truth and justice, and in memory of those who were killed. Last year, Robert Sears' appeal against his conviction was on the news, which caught my attention. And since then, I have spent time to look at the story, to search for the information. And the more information I have, the more time I spend, the more reports I read, and the more questions I have on if the case was actually a case of miscarriage of justice. I have come across with this piece of emergency recording, which appears to be the full version. I have listened to it more than 30 times. Initially, it was very difficult to get my head around it. Now I can say with confidence, I've got a pretty good handle of what's been happening here. I'm asking you to spare some patience to listen the whole recording, as the devil is in the details. And in addition, this time we spend, I hope it's a little price to pay for the truth and justice. At the end of this recording, I will provide my explanation, reasoning, and conclusion. And you'll be surprised how much information can be found in this recording and how much conclusion can be made. So buckle your seatbelts. Let's go for a ride.
Emergency police fire ambulance.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Police fire or ambulance?
Okay, I need a call ambulance and the please.
Police and ambulance? Okay. What state and
Yeah,
town is
the
the emergency
55,
in? What state and town is the emergency in?
Boundary.
Where?
55.
Police are making
55, Boundary. I think this...
Emergency, police, fire or ambulance. Emergency, police, fire.
Hello?
Caller, do you have an emergency? Do you want the police, the fire or the ambulance?
Yes, fire, emergency, police and ambulance, please.
You want the police and what?
Yeah, please,
yes.
and ambulance.
What state and town is your emergency in?
New South Wales.
Yes, what town in New South Wales?
Epping.
Epping, thank you.
Yeah.
You also mentioned you wanted the ambulance, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Stay with me. Connecting
Thank you.
police and ambulance. That's my job, thank you. My pleasure. Won't be long, caller. That number's ringing for you. Thank you.
In Queensland? You have Northern Queensland connecting.
I'm going to try another number for you, caller. Thank you. Stay with me. I'm trying a new line.
Please, quick.
Yes. Trying a new number for you now. Thank you. Whatever you do, don't hang up. That new line is ringing now. Won't be long.
What state and town?
Shouldn't be much longer, thank you.
Victoria, attention to the police. 844.
Please go ahead, Telstra.
Thank you. Also requiring ambulance 853717.
Thank you. Police emergency. This is Tim.
Hello.
Please go ahead, Telstra.
Thank you. Also requiring ambulance 853717.
Thank you. Police emergency. This is Tim.
Hello. I need an ambulance to 55A Boundary Road.
What
Epping
suburb?
North.
What
Epping
suburb?
North.
Epping
North. North.
Just let me find it here. What corner street's closest?
Close Back Street.
Close to...
Epping North Oval Park.
So it's 55A Boundary Road, Epping North, and it's a house?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah, the house.
What's wrong?
Yeah. Pardon?
What's wrong? What's wrong?
I'm not sure someone else is I think I'm not sure.
You need to tell me why you need an ambulance. What's wrong?
Yeah, I think someone died. I'm not sure.
Why do you think someone's dying?
I don't know.
You need to tell me something. You're asking for an ambulance, but why?
Yeah, I also need a place.
Yeah, why? What's wrong?
Because I think someone would die.
Yeah, you need to say why. What have you seen or heard that makes you think someone is going to die? What is wrong? Don't scream. Just answer my questions. What's wrong? Can I talk to someone else? Is there anyone else there?
No,
Who's in the background talking?
leave me. I'm sorry. I don't think someone.
I've got police on the way, but you need to tell me what's wrong.
Yeah, I need it because I have someone to be killed.
Is someone bleeding? Is someone unconscious?
I think they died.
Why?
I'm not sure, but maybe someone killed my brother's family. No.
Why do you think that?
唔緊要，打電話陣間自己過嚟啊！
Put that other person on the phone for me.
警察嚟啊！唔係啊，唔使啊，你警察陣間嚟我先，我唔知點講啊！快啲，唔緊要，你快啲打，你警察你打俾你啊！你講我俾過你啊！唔得，你人講邊度嚟啊？喂，老公。
Emergency police, fire, ambulance.
Please.
You want the police connecting police? What state and town is the emergency
New South Wales, please.
Sorry?
New South Wales.
Yes, what town in New South Wales?
Epping.
Epping?
Yeah.
Epping, New South Wales, connecting police.
Thank you.
Police are ringing for you now.
Go ahead, Telstra.
251438.
Your police emergency. This is Tim.
Hello, how are you?
Please go ahead, Telstra.
251438.
Thank you. Police emergency. This is Tim.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, what's your address?
55A Boundary Road.
Epping North?
Epping North.
55A Boundary Road, Epping North. What's wrong?
I need someone to come quick.
We are coming. You need to stop screaming and tell me what the problem is.
Yeah, I think my brother's family, someone killed my brother's family.
Why do you think that?
Yeah, because I went to his house and I knocked the door and the door is just closed and I opened it. And up the stairs, find my brother. I couldn't find it. I'm not sure.
Where's your brother?
Someone, I can find my brother, sister-in-law, and I think someone is dying.
Are they on the ground?
Pardon?
Are they on the ground?
No, they're the bedroom. They're all the bedroom.
Are they in the house? Is your brother in the house?
I'm not sure because I just have to take a look at it. The body. I just have to call you.
We are driving there. Answer my questions, please. Have you found a body?
I'm at my brother's home.
Have you found a body?
Because I went to his home and upstairs to check it because his shop is open and he's the agent and someone has called me and asked. I just go to check and I found it just quick.
We are driving there. Don't say quick. Tell me what's wrong. Have you seen your brother?
I'm not sure because I just look. I saw.
We're already driving there. You don't need to worry. We're on the way. But can you see your brother?
I'm not sure.
No, it's yes or no. Can you see him?
No.
Is he in the house?
Pardon?
Is your brother in the house?
I'm not sure.
No, it's yes or no. Have you seen him in the house?
I didn't see him.
But why do you think he's dead? I'm a bit confused.
Because I saw my brother's sister-in-law, the body, and I saw the sister-in-law, sister's body, and I saw the two cousins, to my brother's son's body. So I thought, I didn't see my brother.
Can you see their bodies?
Yeah, I saw. So quick.
We're coming. We're on the way. You don't need to worry. We're on the way.
Call the ambulance. I'm not sure they are dying or not.
No, ambulance are on the way as well.
Okay, thank you much.
Police are in the street now. They'll be there in 10 seconds. Are you outside the house?
Yeah.
Are you out the front?
Outside, yeah, front, the driveway.
Can you see the police yet? They're driving there right now. They'll have their lights on. It is number 55A Boundary Road, isn't it? It's right back. Long driveway.
Yeah, long driveway opposite Epping North Oval Park. Yeah, I saw it. I'm not sure it's police car. Yes, police car. I saw it.
You can see the police car now?
Yes.
All right. Are they coming down your driveway yet?
Yes.
They're coming down your driveway?
Yes.
All right. You talk to police then. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Now, what do you think? Confusing, isn't it? In actual fact, you know what? There is not one emergency call, not two, but 3 emergency calls altogether. It's incredible, isn't it? Calling emergency is like playing Russian roulette. I will explain that in a minute. I just want to quickly take you through how the emergency calls are handled and processed in Australia, so we have this background information so we can better understand the emergency recording we heard earlier. Here's the website of ACMA, Australian Communications and Media Authorities. Basically, it provides the information on how the emergency calls are taken and processed, and under what situations emergency calls should be made. So when an emergency call is made, it will be answered by Telstra first, a Telstra operator, and everything will be recorded. This operator will ask you for police, fire, or ambulance. And then the operator will ask you for the town and states that you're calling from. So in our case, Kathy Lynn needs to provide information on town and states such as Epping and New South Wales. Of course, when most people made a call, they wouldn't have prior experience. Once the Telstra operator has information on town location and state, then this information, I believe, will be punched into a system which will quickly figure out which police command center this emergency call should be directed to. In the case the emergency call is not answered within, say, 30 seconds, I think the procedure will dictate the call to be transferred to the next nearest station. Epping, I think it falls under the Ryde PAC area. So Kathy's initial emergency call would be transferred to the Ryde police station. And then here we'll come and have a look. Here's the Parramatta PAC, which shows you what area it looks after. Now, there is also a set standard for emergency answer call by police, fire, or ambulance. In our example, so when an emergency call is transferred to the police station, they have 10 seconds, or they're expected to answer the call within 10 seconds. Here we can see they got a reasonable KPI. But last year, I remember it was 8 seconds. Now, let me move back to the earlier emergency recording and provide you my interpretation of what's happened there. During the first call, the gentleman, the Telstra operator, asked for information for location and states twice, but Kathy didn't provide that. Instead, she gave him the home address. So instead of helping her out in an emergency situation, I think he just left the phone call in limbo and just let it ring out. And eventually it disconnected at around 2 minutes 13 seconds. Now this first gentleman, I reckon, is a dickhead. He is a heartless dickhead. So the first one is the bad one. Then comes the second one. The second one is a good one. And this gentleman, he has a beautiful heart. He has a good conscience. He showed a lot of empathy and he really want to try to help Kathy. So this beautiful second operator, he took the phone at around 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And once he found out the information on where Kathy calling from, I believe he transferred the emergency call to Ryde PAC. So the phone was ringing from 3 minutes 19 seconds to around 4 minutes. It was ringing for about 40 seconds without being answered by the Ryde PAC. Remember, it was supposed to answer the emergency call within 10 seconds. Then this beautiful gentleman tried to transfer it to another line. This time, I believe it was transferred to Parramatta PAC, which is the next nearest police station to Epping. Now you ask me, how do you know it was a Parramatta PAC? Okay, no worries. I will explain that to you later. But first, just let's say it was a Parramatta PAC. This time the phone was ringing from 4 minutes and was answered at 4 minutes 30 seconds by a police officer. His name is Tim. So once again, in the same day, the emergency call was answered way later than what's expected. So this time it took 30 seconds for the phone to be answered. Police officer Tim seems to be annoyed by the call, and he didn't show much empathy at all. And the way he talked is more like he was interrogating. And while he tried to talk calm and cool, but you gotta realize Kathy was in the crime scene and she just came out from the bloodbath. And you can't really expect too much from her, from somebody in that situation, how to respond to call. And while talking to Officer Tim, Cassie, I think at the same time was also talking to her husband. But it was not an argument. I think they just tried to come to the agreement as to when he should go and pick her parents up from Maryland. Now, she may sound a little bit rude, talking to two persons at the same time, but you got to realize this was an emergency situation. And she's been on the emergency call for 3 times. Of course, while she was waiting for the emergency call to be answered, she would discuss with her husband, Robert Sear, as to what to do next. And at 7 minutes of the recording, it appears Officer Tim has hung up the phone on Kathy. Oh, the phone was somehow disconnected. So Kathy had to make her 3rd emergency call from the crime scene. And this time the operator was a lady. After the operator had the information of the town, and she then transferred the emergency call to police. So at around 7 minutes 20 seconds, the phone was transferred to police station, and it was answered at 7 minutes 40 seconds. So it took 20 seconds for the call to be answered. Once again, it's over the 10 seconds expectation. During the emergency conversation, it would appear that Officer Tim was very particularly interested about her brother. So I'm not sure whether he was trying to figure out whether her brother was the culprit, or he was genuinely care about the brother situation. Regardless, police officer Tim, the fact that he hung up the phone and the way he dealt with Kathy and the questions he asked would have qualified him to be the ugly. So we have everything here, the bad, the good, and the ugly. That's why I say making an emergency call this time was a bit like playing a Russian roulette. So there are a lot of reflection on these 3 emergency calls. The first operator didn't seem to care because he didn't get the information required, and then he just left the phone to ring out and get disconnected. This is incredible. Then it will appear the right PAC, police station, the emergency telephone was not staffed, or someone left the post when the emergency call was made. And then the emergency calls transferred to Parramatta PAC. They have been consistently answered, way more than the 10 seconds requirement. And I checked the date for 18 July 2009. It was a Saturday. I'm not sure whether it has got anything to do with the performance. Unbeknown to most people, Kathy and Robert Sears' young son was at the scene all this time. He might have been in the car on the driveway outside. So this is actually a very important and critical piece of information as well. Just right before the arrival of the police cars, Robert Sear, Kathy's husband, left the scene with their son, and they went home, which is about 300 meters away. And then later on, they went to Maryland to pick up Kathy's parents and brought them to Epping. Now, had the police answered the emergency call earlier on, they would have got to the scene earlier on. They would have met Robert Sear on the crime scene when they arrived. And they probably wouldn't speculate. Robert Sear left the scene to dispose the murder weapon, the clothes, and the shoes. And Robert Sear, being at the crime scene earlier and then went home, which could explain why there was a stain which was found on his garage floor later on. And during the emergency recording, when Kathy was talking to police officer Tim, she was also talking to her husband. Basically, what they were saying was in Cantonese. What they were trying to discuss was to whether Robert Sear should go to Maryland to pick up her parents, or should let her parents to come by public transport. I mean, that's the point they were talking. And from Kathy's parents' interview, we know that during the emergency call time, Robert Sear also made phone calls to Kathy's parents and to ask them to come to Epping. Something big happened. He didn't tell his in-laws that the Lin family was murdered. So, and then Robert Sear's in-law, Kathy's parents, they insisted Robert to go to Maryland to pick them up because it would take too long to catch the public transport to come to Epping. Because if you know, in Australia, on Saturday, the train services and bus services, they were substantially reduced. Sometimes, it could take a lot longer to get from A to B than during the weekdays. So one could imagine what a chaotic situation, what a frantic situation they were in. They got to talk to the police, they got to talk to the parents, they got to figure out what to do, they got to figure out how to make arrangement for the young son. So they handled the situation pretty good. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to handle like what they did if I were in the same situation. However, the expectation from the police investigation and the Crown prosecutor were much higher. They expect them to behave in the most rational way. Otherwise, they will be suspicious of committing the crime. Later on, the Crown prosecutor alleged that Robert Sear left the scene because he was the murderer and he knew his wife was safe. He knew there was no other murderers. That's why he left his wife on the murder scene. But they didn't mention their young son was there as well. So there are a couple of points here I'd like to make. First, the young son of Kathy and Robert Sear, who was about 7 years old, was at the scene at the time. Second, Robert Sear left the scene only to go to Maryland to fetch his in-laws and to bring them to Epping. That was after the discussion with the in-law and with his wife, Kathy Lin. And many people believe police allegation because they only heard a small part of the emergency call recording, which is the part that Kathy was screaming, say, don't go, I'm scared. What fascinates me about this case is the sequence of these emergency calls seems to have predetermined the outcome of the case. And it could have changed the life of the Lin family and many other involved forever. And I ask you to bear this in your mind, and I will explain later on as why I have come to this conclusion. So thank you all very much for your time, for being here together in this journey so far, and I really appreciate it. And in next episode, I will be explaining why the Parramatta PAC was involved, and I will talk about the opening statement of the Crown Prosecutor. And until then, take care. Goodbye.